If you search budget keyboard on Amazon right now, you'll get a lot of results, and most of these are subpar quality keyboards, the same renders and the same build with different branding slapped on a plastic shell. But search for TH99 Pro and you'll get this, a 96% layout keyboard with loads of higher end features for a surprising price. And if it's anything like the previous Epomaker keyboard I've tested, these may be one of the better budget mechanical keyboards out there. So I've got two variants of the TH99 Pro here, and I have partnered with Epomaker on this video, but as always, opinions are my own. The colored accent keycaps are the first thing I noticed, the splashes of colors on the arrow keys, the enter button, it gives the keyboard a fun personality. But the layout here is surprising, it's 1800 layout. This unique layout keeps nearly all the keys but squishes them together to remove the dead space, so the keyboard basically has the same utility in a smaller desk footprint, and wow, it even has a numpad. I didn't realize that this was a big deal, but from the previous comments on my last keyboard video, I realized that no numpad is actually a deal breaker for some. Let me know if you're team numpad or no numpad. The build quality is classic Epomaker. It feels substantial for the price tag. It has high quality grade ABS build, premium double shot PBT keycaps, and 5 layers of sound dampening with gasket design. These are features you'd expect in an over $100 keyboard, so the value here is quite high. The knob on the top right hand corner as well is metal, and it's quite nice feeling, and it's also a nice detail. Lightweight enough to spin with one finger with a nice satisfying tactile feel and click on each notch. It's volume control by default but hold function, and it switches to controlling the display in RGB modes. The RGB strip that runs along the back looks great in darker setups, but the standout details is the TFT display, which is noticeably crispier than the LCD on the TH80. It's a small 1.06 inch screen that shows the date, the time, battery level, whether you're on Mac or Windows mode, and your current connection type, all at a glance. So it's one of those features where you don't realize how handy it is until you've been using it for a week, and then you switch back to a keyboard without one. But here's the part I was most curious about: the creamy Jade switches. I think Epomaker has nailed the naming here because these switches feel creamy. There's a smoothness to the keystroke that's hard to describe until you type on them, and the sound profile is something else. It's this satisfying blend of socky, poppy, and creamy all at once. It is absolutely satisfying and a premium typing experience you would not expect at this price point. And let me do a slower pass too, so you can actually hear what each keystroke sounds like. That deep cushioned thud on each bottom out is the gasket mount and 5 layers of dampening doing their thing. It's this kind of sound that makes you want to keep typing just to hear it again. I caught myself a few times just sitting there pressing the keys for no reason, just like right now, not typing anything useful, just enjoying the sound. Which is either a great sign for the keyboard or a concerning sign for my productivity, or both. There's no pinging, there's no rattling from the stabilizers, there's no hollow resonance. For a budget keyboard to sound this clean without any modifications is pretty impressive. So a lot of that comes down to the internals, 5 layers of sound dampening, a gasket mount design, there's pre-lubed plate mounted stabilizers, and a dual flex cut on both the PCB board and the PC plates. That's a spec sheet you'd expect on a board costing 2 or 3 times as much. Compared to the Sea Salt Silence I tested last month, those were all about stealth, typing quietly without disturbing anyone, but the creamy Jades here are for people who want to hear and feel the keyboard and either are alone or you don't care about what others think about your loud typing habits. I will say this though, the stabilizer underneath the spacebar feels slightly lighter than the ones under the backspace and enter. It's kind of minor and most people generally won't notice it, but if you're the type of person who obsesses over spacebar stabs, you'll notice. Now, the thing that actually sets these keyboards apart from most budget boards isn't one feature, it's how many small details Epomaker got right at this price. The Mac and Windows switching is a good example. There's a physical toggle right on the front, no hunting down the FN key combos, you just flip it, and the keycaps are actually properly dual labeled for once. So the Alt key also shows command, the Windows key shows the Mac equivalent. So if you're anything like me and you switch between a Mac and a PC regularly, that kind of small detail actually matters. Wireless is also solid here. I didn't notice any lag during normal typing on Bluetooth. And if you want the fastest latency, you want to use the 2.4 gigahertz dongle right here that's stored underneath the keyboard. I'll get into the actual latency numbers in the gaming section in a second. And battery life packs that same huge 10,000 milliamp hour battery as the TH80. So Epomaker rates it as 150 to 200 hours with RGB off and about 40 hours with RGB on. And even at 40 hours, that's basically a full week of heavy use before you need to charge it. And the keyboard is fully programmable through a Chrome-based WebDriver. You can remap every single key and even record macros. So if you've got repetitive Excel formulas or multi-key game combos, you can automate them with a single tap. No bloatware to install, it just runs in your browser. But now, how does this keyboard and the creamy Jades hold up with gaming? So over the past few weeks, I've tested this with Valorant, Counter-Strike 2, Battlefield 6, Stardew Valley, so twitchy competitive shooters to something a lot more relaxed. And for the vast majority of gaming, the creamy Jades feel great. There's a tactile bump on each press that gives you that satisfying confirmation. It makes gaming feel responsive and engaging, especially in games where you're constantly pressing keys but don't need frame-perfect precision. Now, let me give you the actual latency numbers because these matter, especially if you're a proper gamer. USB-C wide gives you 2 milliseconds and that's competitive ready. The 2.4 gigahertz dongle gives you 5 millisecond response rate, which is perfect for most people and is barely noticeable. And then Bluetooth sits at 11 milliseconds, perfectly fine for casual gaming, something like Stardew Valley or Starfield, but you feel the difference in competitive FPS. So here's my honest take. If you're playing a wide variety of games, you'll absolutely get your money's worth out of the TH99 Pro here. The creamy Jades handle most genres really well. But if you're a serious competitive FPS player who needs ultra precise inputs and custom actuation points, you're probably better off looking at a Hall effect or TMR keyboard where you can fine tune that stuff. That's a different product category though, and usually at a very different price. For everyone else, and I'd say that's like most of us, this keyboard games really well for under $90. I did run into a couple of hiccups though. If I closed my MacBook for a break and then opened it again a few minutes later, the wired USB-C connection would drop. The fix is pretty simple, unplug the cable and plug it in again. Connection restored instantly, but it's a minor annoyance that I'd love to see Epomaker address in a firmware update. Then there's the software. I kind of mentioned this in the previous video. Similar to the TH80, still has room to improve. The web-based driver itself works fine once you're in it, but actually finding it on Epomaker's website and understanding the setup process isn't as intuitive as it should be. And the case is, ABS plastic, same story as the TH80. It looks and feels solid for the price, but if you're used to aluminum case keyboards, you'll notice the difference. And at under $90 though, this is a pretty fair trade-off. Okay, so overall, the TH80 impressed me, but the TH99 Pro confirms it wasn't just a fluke from Epomaker. At under $90, you're getting a full number pad, genuinely great switches, reliable wireless, a solid build, and small details like the physical OS toggle and the dual labeled keycaps. Is it perfect though? No, it isn't. The USB-C reconnection quirk is annoying. The software could definitely be easier to find, and the ABS case won't feel like aluminum. But At this price, those trade-offs are, I think, pretty fair. If you don't need the number pad and want something more compact, the TH80 V2 Pro is still a great option at only $80. I'll link that video and the keyboard on Amazon in the description box below. But if you want the full layout without paying the full layout prices, the TH99 Pro has to be one of the best keyboards on Amazon south of $90. Plus, they're extending an exclusive 50% discount to my audience. So if you use the code AEZ through the link in the description box below, you'll get 15% off. So what's your go-to keyboard right now? Let me know in the comments below. If you made it to the end, drop the code word CREAMY. I'll give it a like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.